All right, here we go. Welcome to the podcast, the Dad Boss podcast. And you'll notice this time around, it's a different voice that opens the show. Normally we have Mr. Q in the house, but he's a little bit tied up with his coaching business at the moment, helping some people out there. So we're going to be here today. I'll be Shane Bird. I'll be rocking and rolling from the front, I guess you could say. And we've got the amazing Mr. Eric in the background as well. Haven't had Eric on for the last couple of weeks because he's been away. But Eric, give us a quick maybe update. How's the last couple of weeks been for you?
It was awesome. It's awesome. Good to be back. To be back in the normal routine. Had our yearly retreat or retreat is not sure if retreat is the right or experience or trip away with High Performance Father, over 100 men from all over the country, going to the highest point in Australia. So that was great. That was great. The week there, weather was good. Bit of rainy actually on top of the mountain, like the storm was coming in and the rain, and we had to get off the mountain. It was a pretty good adventure. But yeah, it was good to be with the men and a bit away from the everyday work and business and even the family, even though it's nice to be with the family, but it's good to yeah, have a bit of a break there as well. It was good.
Yeah, very cool, mate. Very cool. And I guess we were just chatting offline. What are we going to talk about? And thought we'd utilize this event that you've had, so maybe a bit of Q&A time with myself and yourself around what's the benefit of these kind of events, because you obviously in the High Performance Father work a lot with men and the fathers, but everyone, I imagine a lot of them in their own business as well. So maybe we'll chat a bit about what's the benefit of taking the time out of the business, but also out of your home environment in order to be able to work on some stuff that you guys cover inside the High Performance Father. So you gave us a little bit of a brief overview. So, like about 100 blokes, I believe, turned up. Was that right? From all over Australia?
Yes, that's right. 100. Actually, yeah, just close to 100, and us included, the whole team. It's maybe 110 in total. Yeah, was epic, was epic, yeah, and it's a very magical place, like snowy mountains, snowy mountains, Threadbow area. So obviously not much snow anymore, even though there was a bit of snow left towards the top.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, some good. Like one of the highlights was the climb, getting up the mountain, all of us with carrying weight vests and things like that. So making it a bit more challenging. And then we had workshops, had some other activities, and just yeah, just the brotherhood together, the whole tribe. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys talk about running this every year. I remember last year you spoke about doing it and how it's a really great environment to bring those blokes together and everything. So do you want to talk a little bit into maybe like what's the benefit of, because we all know, like, well, you and I both know, and obviously a lot of people hear us talk about coaching and how that's beneficial. And most coaching's done, virtually or on the phone, and they're sitting in their own home or in their office or whatever. What's that benefit of having guys, fly in interstate, or I believe you had a guy from New Zealand as well. What's that benefit of just bringing a bunch of blokes together in a completely different environment? I mean, you use the word retreat. Most people call it a retreat or a boys' weekend out. You might say, I think about, actually, as I say that, I think about one of my clients. He in New Zealand, he's got 3 or 4 mates every year. They get together and they spend a week in the bush. They go hunting, they fly in on a helicopter, and they spend a whole 6 or 7 days walking out, and they hunt along the way. And he said, I said, oh, it's a great boys trip, and he goes, yeah, but it's really a lot of, like, it's good for the mental health as well, because you disconnect from everything as at home, and you just have that time, and you talk about some real stuff as well. So, like, what's the concept that High Performance Fathers run, and what's that benefit for you guys to bring these guys into that environment? For how many days is it? Like 3 nights, 4 nights that you spend away?
Yeah, we have different levels. Some of the guys 5 days, some of the other guys, and actually 6 days, 6 days, and then the other one 4 days. Yeah, it's a good amount of time.
Yeah, cool, cool. So what is that like? Maybe you could speak into that. What's that benefit of getting people, where you get that opportunity to fly or go somewhere completely different and disconnect from everything else? How does that serve in a different way compared to maybe getting weekly coaching or the stuff that you might do at home?
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned it. It's like similar to just going in the bush and being away from the everyday life and from the family. But it helps on so many levels. Like virtually is awesome, right? But it's a bit like a sports game, right? If you're going into the arena, if you're going into the stadium, it's different than watching the recording or watching it through the screen. So I think that's the benefit. And a lot of the guys know each other, or even some of my members that I look after, we know each other on the screen for like 6 months, 12 months or so, but maybe they are from WA. So the first time that I seen them in person, and it's different, right? Like giving somebody a handshake, giving them a hug, right? Having this, conversations eye to eye in person. Very different level of connection. And I think what works well for us is that it's not just a bunch of stranger, everybody is aligned, obviously all under high performance father, all working on themselves and you come there and there's this instant connection or this instant trust, of yeah, because you don't have to pretend, you can be authentic. Maybe that's the right word. You can be yourself, which I guess can be a bit challenging sometimes when like men come together because typically maybe when I look back into my past, when you're with the boys, it's a lot of ego in a way. It's a lot of, status and who's making the most money and maybe that's could be the topics or even like the alcohol, right? Going on getting on the piss. But it was an alcohol-free event. So no one was drinking for the 4 days or 6 days, which is crazy. And everybody had a great time. And he really said it was one of the best weeks of their lives, like me included, even compared to last year. This was even, deeper and better than last year. And I think that's something, like you can come together with the boys, but then I like what you said before, going out in nature, hunting, or for us, really working on ourselves, having great workshops where we go a bit deeper, having this climb and yeah, being together without them getting smashed and pissed every night, which typically men do, right? And I know you're
Yeah.
kids as well, but and I maybe stopped 2 years ago where I didn't drink, so and that's maybe the crazier thing. You have like 100 guys come together, so at some stages of the retreat, everybody comes together, and we are in this le- one big venue, and the 100 guys there, and you hear everybody talk and laugh, and right, and it's no alcohol, good food, right? And then 9:30, 10 o'clock, people still there. Um, so something we have a special. So to just answer your question, so it's definitely different in person, to be like in the flesh and then making these deeper, meaningful connections. And I guess the last one is really being away from your normal environment, which is sometimes hard, even if we like us now, right? We are on the podcast here, but then we have to go to other things, and I have to pick up my little one, and then there are other things on, but really being away from the family and being away from the business. And there's not the great reception either. So it's like, most of the guys really completely switched off for like 4 days or 6 days, and that can be a really good reset and then coming back with more clarity and really crushing family self and service.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, and I think as you talk about that, it reminds me of Tony Robbins talks a lot around like there's different ways to grow and evolve and everything. And one thing that he mentions, or two things that he mentions, is really important is immersion events. So he talks about like every quarter he would set aside like a weekend, or you might set aside a 4 day immersion event where you just go and fully immerse yourself in something in order to be able to expand and grow. But then consistent, regular updates as well. And I think about like top rugby teams, they'll have a camp, at the start of the season or early on, like they'll go and have a team camp where they'll go away for a whole week. That's like an immersion event, but they're training 2, 3, 4 times a week as well. I mean, the professional teams 3 or 4 times a week, but maybe an amateur team, they might be training two times a week, which is the consistent improvements as well. But the immersion events are really important because of, and you mentioned it, it brings connection together within the community and the tribe there, which is really important. But I think what else it does, it brings disconnection from the distractions at home, because we all know that if we can do work here and like have a 1 hour session with a coach or something like that, but that as soon as you step outside the door or back in the house, the distractions at home are going to pop up, and you're going to start to forget about what you've already worked on, which I think is really valuable with what you guys are doing is, hey, let's do some work together, let's do some workshops together. And then also, don't, without the distractions of what's going on at home, you start to sort of integrate it on a much deeper level as you just have more conversations outside the workshop room, into the evenings, over breakfast, over lunch, over dinner, while you're lugging up the hill with an extra 20 kilos on your back or whatever it was that you guys were doing. I think that's a great power of the immersion, is for connection within the community or in the event, but the disconnection from home, so you don't have those distractions. Because we all know that we can easily get distracted by, as soon as you walk through another door, whether it's out of the office door or into the house door, something's going to pop up and you're just going to split your focus or take your focus away rather than having that time to integrate. So I love the idea of the those immersion events, and it's great that you guys can have so many people come together and do that.
Question to you, actually, quickly. Question to you
Yeah,
then, because you're running similar events. Maybe you're not going to the mountain, but when you do your coaching certifications and the business boot camp, similar, yeah, either 3 days or 5 days. I
yeah.
know we do some virtual, but some are in person as well. Maybe then also hearing it from like your side, what did you? I mean, first you were on the receiving end as a participant. Now you're leading and running these programs. Yeah, how do you see that from like this side? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess there's two ways to look at that. You've got the live in-person ones that we've been a part of before, and then you've got the virtual ones. And even the two of them as emergent events have a different kind of flavor to them. The good thing about the live ones that I really like is we have what we call the hallway conversations. And they're the conversations over breakfast, lunch, dinner, outside the training room while you're waiting to come in, after you leave the day and you're just sitting around waiting for a taxi or a cab, or you're just waiting for the dinner time or something like that. So when you go live in person, those conversations are what build like long lasting friendships. And I'm not saying you can't do that virtually, but that's definitely something that you do. The difference with say a 8 or a 10 hour virtual event is you don't necessarily have the opportunity to build those in hallway conversations. So you don't necessarily build up the kind of friendships that you potentially could do if it's a in-person event. But it's still super powerful because you lock yourself in the office or you lock yourself away in the room. But then you do have those distractions when you do go out, like the wife's there, the kids are there, the dog's there, the two I see from work, or the boss is there ringing you or left a message and stuff like that. So still super powerful, but I do find that the live ones just have that extra flavor, which just create deeper connections and deeper relationships. The learning's still the same. Again, I think about when I did those early trainings where I would fly to Sydney from New Zealand. So I was flying into a different place. So then I was able to disconnect from the things at home, from the farm and stuff. So I feel like, I wouldn't say I got better results, but I just feel like I got deeper connections and results out of that. And there was just, I guess, the difference there that I noticed. I'm not saying anyone's any better. There's just different, I guess, different benefits of doing that. The thing about doing it at home is at least you're in the comfort of your own home, and you don't have that extra travel time and stress and overwhelm and expense to go and, buy a plane ticket, rent a car, or get in a car, or get in a taxi or an Uber, have a hotel to stay at if you've got an event in the city or something. So, like I say, pros and cons either way. But I mean, I love the immersion events just because I like learning a lot in a shorter period of time. And then, but I also see the value in those ongoing weekly sessions that you guys run as well.
Yeah. Awesome. So then if we summarize, so it doesn't actually matter what's the format, or like what's the industry even in a way. I mean, similar industry that we're in,
Yeah.
but the importance of in person, yeah. And I think I read a stat somewhere that since COVID and with the rise of AI, it's actually more or it's like an increase in-person events. Not sure if you read it as well, or we spoke about in a different episode that more people go to in-person events because everything is online or more people work from home. They actually
Yeah.
crave this, going to a concert or going to an event or to an retreat. Actually looking forward for it.
Yeah, 100%. People crave that person-to-person interaction. And I think what COVID highlighted was, I mean, it just highlighted the value of getting out of the house and actually having relationships and interacting with people, and maybe even meeting new people so that you can, get exposed to new things in your life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Who's interviewing now? Who's the boss?
Oh, I don't know. We'll just keep interviewing each other, I guess, and then we'll run it past Quang, make sure it's okay. I was going to ask, maybe talk to us a little bit about some of the types of workshops that you guys had. Like, obviously, you were there for a good number of days, but what were some of the key workshops that you guys ran there, and what were some of those topics that you found that the participants found most valuable? Oh, he's going to get his
Yeah.
manual out. He's got to get the run sheet out.
We got my workbooks here. Yeah, we had some awesome workbooks this year. But I think the biggest takeaway, and maybe some of the audience done a retreat before personal development, is really giving time to explore. So this time at Cosi, it wasn't a lot of content, like a lot of learning, a lot of new things. It wasn't really about that because all of the guys who came to the retreat or came to Cosi this year, they're already in HBF, they're already doing the work, right? So it was really about a bit of time for connection, but then the whole workbook was really about reflection, yeah? So going a bit deeper on, what's the vision, what's the path, what's the commitments moving forward, what's the purpose. So our theme this year was purpose, to really find your purpose, because if you find your purpose, then you will come up with your goals much better and you will follow through with your goals rather than just setting goals like I want to be fitter,
Yeah,
more money or better relationships, right? That's a great goal. But if you find your purpose, um, that will help you to set better goals and then follow through more consistently. So that was really good this year, and they're really having lots of time, like in our workshops, sitting down and answering a lot of questions, like we know, or I'm not sure who said it, if it's Robbins or someone else, but questions are the answers. The better questions we ask in life, the better answers we get, and there's some really powerful questions here, and actually having some time to explore and to put it on paper in the journal and then share it with each other, some public shares and public commitments in front of the group, which I think is really powerful, rather than just sitting there at home by yourself and writing it down.
yeah,
You're actually in a room, you're putting it on paper, then you share it with your table, maybe share it publicly in front of 50 or 100 guys. Um, that was a big part of the workshops, and it wasn't too many, it was like 3, 4 workshops or so over the couple of days, but got some really great feedback from the guys. And the cool thing is now we took it home and now we keep working with it. It's not just, oh, the workshop is done now. Now we can go
yeah.
through again and add to it, and it's like a manuscript for like crushing life over the next 12 months.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I think a key thing that you spoke about there was reflection. I think maybe we don't give enough validation to the putting time into reflection, and this is a good time of year to do that. Like I remember, and I used to do this. In fact, for honestly, I haven't done this the last couple of years, but just the taking like 3 hours and reflecting on the whole year. Just go to a cafe somewhere and sit down on your own and just take time to write out what did you do over the whole year, even month by month, and reflecting on that. But then also reflecting on the lessons you've learned, the changes you've made, because as you recognize that, you start to have that pride come up of, oh shoot, this happened, this happened, this happened that I kind of discredited or haven't given enough attention to remind me of how far I've come.
Yes.
And those workshops to do that is going to be super powerful. And then even as you were talking about that, the reflection part, while you're in an immersive environment in a live venue like that, where you remove the distractions, is you have those ongoing conversations. Like you said, the workbooks for ongoing outside of that, but you have the ongoing conversations over lunch or dinner or whatever, and you have more insights. And then you
Yeah.
can come back and reinforce what you've learned in that workshop. So it's another great reason why, like in-person events, without the distraction, so disconnection and being immersed in those events is going to be a much more powerful way for you to be able to have those internal transformations long term as well. So it's pretty cool to be able to have that realization, eh?
It is, man. And we didn't even walk over hot coals, and we still got a good experience. Yeah, we went through the snow, not through the hot
Yeah,
coals. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of the snow and the walking up the mountains with the weight, so do you want to talk to a little bit about like what's the thinking behind getting everyone to do that? Like, hey, let's go and do something that's maybe physically exerting, and it's probably going to push you beyond your normal limits. We're going to give you, I don't know how heavy the weight vests were, but we're going to give you some extra weight, and we're going to walk to the top of the mountain. Like, talk to us a bit about the value of doing that, whereas that's not something that we would normally do just on a Saturday afternoon if we were a bit bored, right? So what's
yeah,
the thinking behind the getting the boys or the team to do that?
yeah. And it is actually connected to the coals, I guess, like a lot of guys know Tony Robbins and walking over hot coals, or sometimes in our, the workshops that we done together, we're doing the board break,
Yeah.
doing something that we usually would not do. So, challenging our limitations that we have about ourselves. And I guess with Cosi as well, so the climb is somewhere halfway, Actually, we had to do it one day earlier because the weather was coming in. So we had to do
Yeah.
it on Saturday instead of Sunday. Um, and it's also, right, you're working on yourself, you're exploring, then you're basically um, exhausting yourself physically, right? And that can then also help. Okay, cool. Let's make some decisions. Another big thing is one of the questions in the starting workshop was about what do I leave on top of the mountain, right? Symbolically. So everybody goes up
Yeah.
there. It's like this tough journey. Many guys 10 kilogram, 20 kilograms, some guys 30 kilogram, and it's like 700 meters elevation. Yeah, so it's pretty good climb. So I think, average it took us about 3 hours to get up there, but it's like, very, very steep for the 3 hours plus all the way down. Um, but then, yeah, symbolically, what do we leave on top of the mountain and then move forward in life without this baggage from the past? Um, so that's a couple of things why we do the climb. Another one is teamwork as well. Again, you make some really awesome connections and relationships that you build going up the mountain, support each other because different levels of fitness. Some guys have injuries. We had some guys with like some heart conditions, right? So like really, okay, how do we support each other? Some guys didn't wear any weight, or somebody else had to take a bit more. So all of the weight was going up the mountain. So I guess also then the whole team aspect of it. It's not just, okay, how can I go as fast as I can up the mountain? No, it's really
Yeah.
about teamwork as well. Um, which is great, and then the guys really form these friendships and relationships for life, which is important to have for all of the reasons we spoke in former episodes, the importance of having, brotherhood or men around and don't feel alone just by yourself and that you have to figure it all out on your own. But yeah, so epic 28 documentaries coming out in January. Maybe we had like a camera team with us the whole time. This will be
Yeah.
epic to actually see it on screen as well. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I love that. And I guess it really leans to something that I speak about a lot with the clients that I work with is like your comfort zone is your comfort zone. And everything you have in your life right now is inside your comfort zone, which means you're happy to deal with it the way that it is. And if you don't do anything different, then nothing's going to change. Like doing what you're doing will get you what you've got. But when you think about what's in your comfort zone and saying you're happy to deal with it, some people go, I've got all these problems in my life. Well, that's because it's a comfortable problem. And you can deal with it without having to put too much energy in it because our unconscious mind runs 95% of everything that we do, which means it just runs our comfort zone. What we need to do is step out of our comfort zone in order to stretch and grow ourselves. And when you talk about going up the mountain, that would have no doubt stretched a lot of guys outside of their comfort zone in order to become a different version of themselves. And then that's a great time to leave, like you mentioned. What are you leaving at the top of the mountain? Leave that behind and come back as a different version of yourself and step into that new identity. Because if we don't do it, if you don't push yourself, like if it was just a drive to the top of the mountain and you said leave something here, there's no meaning behind it because you haven't put the effort into it. But I love that idea of like, let's push ourselves, let's add some weight to our normal body weight to make it even harder and work as a team to get us up there, support ourselves up there, leave something behind, come back as a different version because I've stepped out of my comfort zone, I've stretched myself, I've grown, and then I can, as you stretch your comfort zone and you step out of it and you do it long enough on repetition, which now speaks to actually the repetition on the back of these immersion events to keep the ball rolling, you then stretch your comfort zone so you can unconsciously deal with bigger problems and deal with those other problems. So it's really important to recognize that if you're not willing to step out of your comfort zone, then nothing's going to change. And I love that environment of, hey, let's go and do this. Let's have everyone supporting you. And also let's stretch you a little bit more than you thought. Instead of just saying we're going to walk 700 meters elevation, we're going to add some extra weight to you. Because what it really comes down to is that sense of pride of the achievement at the end of it. Massive
Wow.
achievement to be able to achieve that in that environment.
Yeah. Spot on, spot on. And I think that's a great maybe a great wrap up of the session, like for everybody who's listening to think, how can I challenge my comfort zone? What can I do? best case, out of the normal environment, going somewhere, can be with some friends, doesn't have to be. Obviously, we only do this once per year, but like you mentioned before, if you have a group of mates rather than just, going to Bali, but even if
Yeah.
you go to Bali, you could actually climb the mountain, and have a bit of a different theme there. But like really thinking about how can I challenge myself? How can I connect with, other people on a deeper level, out of especially with like young kids, stuff, because either you're home or then you're working and that becomes the whole experience. But it's good to break this for even for like 2 or 3 days, going somewhere, heaps of events out there, or like organizing it yourself. I think super important.
Yeah, 100%. I guess the last note from me would be like your unconscious mind is going to try and bring you back to who you are
Mm.
unless you reinforce it. So, real life example. So, it might come as, for those of you watching on the video, it might come as a surprise to some of you who've seen me or followed me, is I sometimes don't wear my hat, right? So, I'm pretty well known for always having a hat on, but sometimes I don't wear it. And most mornings I get up and I don't have a hat on. And Ezra will come into my office and get me my hat and bring it to me to put on because that's who he knows who I am. But the reason of this metaphor is Ezra is my unconscious mind. My hat is my habits, my behaviors, the things that are normal in my life. So as soon as I put it down, your unconscious mind is going to try and grab it and bring it back to you. So as soon as I put my hat down, Ezra will try and come and find it and bring it back to me. So as soon as you try and put down stress, if that's who you are, if you're a stressful person, if you're an overwhelmed person, if you're a frustrated person, as soon as you try to put it down, your unconscious mind's going to go, well, that's who I am. I'm going to try and bring it back. So what do I have to do? I've just got to spend more time without my hat on around Ezra. So then he gets used to the idea that I no longer need that. So then
Yeah.
eventually, as I do that, he'll get used to the idea that, oh, Dad has a hat sometimes, but he has a hat more often than he doesn't. So stress, overwhelm, anxiety, all those things that maybe are holding us back. Maybe just staying stuck in a shitty job. Like if you stay stuck in a shitty job and you don't stretch yourself out to go out and get a different job, then your unconscious mind's going to keep going, well, you got to go to that shitty job, and it's going to bring your shitty job back again and again until you go, you know what, this has got to change. I'm going to make the change. I'm going to make the decision, and then I'm going to do the follow-up work to do that as well, which leads us right back to what we spoke about really early on is immersion events are great. We can make a decision in these events, but it's what you do afterwards that makes the impact and changes your identity long term. And that's one, I guess, the lesson that I would leave with everybody is especially, oh man, we talk about this New Year's resolutions coming up.
Yeah.
And we spoke about this a little bit last week, I think, Quang and I, is you can make the New Year's resolution, but if you don't put the steps in place to reinforce it, you will go back to that same version of yourself very, very quickly. And I'm sure you guys touched on that, which you've got the workbook, you've got the follow-up sessions. So for anyone, I guess for anyone out there who is wanting to make change, is a decision. It all starts with a decision, but it becomes a new version of yourself when you take action on what that new version of you looks like. With that being said, I think this is a great place to wrap it up. So for
Finish.
those of
Yes.
you who are following, make sure you like and share. Oh, that's what you say anyway, isn't it? Like and share our podcast. Make sure you can get us some more followers because at the moment we've got 3, myself, Quang and Eric. But we're joking. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. And we'll be back next week, no doubt, with all 3 of us. I don't know what our theme will be. Maybe something leading into Christmas. So until then, Dad Bods, Dad Boss signing out. Let's go.
Yeah.